At that time, I was only 24. I made friends with no one and positively buried myself more and more in my hole. I felt as though my colleagues viewed me with disgust, and I regarded them with both fear and contempt. Even though I kept my distance, I craved attention. So I tried to start fights simply so someone would take notice of me. Dostoevsky. We all experience loneliness from time to time. When you just broke up with someone, or when you lost a loved one in death, or in college where you hardly knew anyone and still surrounded by people busily chatting with each other. Anyone who cares about another person will experience loneliness when that person is no longer there. Of course, you can try to make yourself invulnerable by avoiding forming close ties to others. But the price for that is even more substantial loneliness. We need others physically, emotionally, and intellectually. We need them if we are to know anything, even ourselves. However, we need to take it one step further. We need other people to need us. Dr. Vivek Murthy, a renowned surgeon, described a heartbreaking experience he witnessed throughout his profession as a surgeon. This is what he said. Some patients always had a visitor in their room to keep them company in the hospital. If they were nearing the end of their life, they had friends and family who gathered to spend their last moments with them. But other patients went days and even weeks with no visits, no phone calls, and no one from the outside world asking how they were doing. Some of them died alone with nobody but me and my hospital colleagues to witness their last moments. It wasn't just a physical absence of friends and family that I noticed. It was a hunger for companionship that was evident in so many of the patients who came through our hospital doors. While most of the patients were eager to get out of the hospital and resume their lives, a good number of them preferred to stay just to continue having friendly conversations with the hospital staff. They shared lengthy stories of their lives with anyone willing to bear witness to their existence. I often found myself torn between wanting to be there for those patients and knowing that I had other patients who were waiting for me. Loneliness is a subjective feeling that you are lacking the social connections you need. What's missing when you're lonely is the feeling of closeness, trust, and the affection of genuine friends and loved ones. This means some people can have many friends but still feel as though they have none, while others can be perfectly fine with being alone for a set period of time. Everyone has different social needs. Extroverts desire human contact and excessive social activity. Introverts, on the other hand, need more time by themselves and feel drained by too much interaction, preferring to socialize in small groups. Both introverts and extroverts can experience loneliness. However, both need strong relationships to feel a secure sense of belonging. What matters is not the quantity of social contact, but the quality of our connections and how we feel about them. 22% of all adults in the US say they always feel lonely. That's over 55 million people, far more than the number of adult cigarette smokers, and nearly double the number of people who have diabetes. The question is, what's preventing all those 55 million people from simply joining a club, making new friends, or reconnecting with family and old friends? The reason is simple. When we are already feeling lonely and then we see others having fun together, there's a natural tendency to withdraw ourselves instead of approaching the group. So we hide our true feelings even from those who may try to connect with us. Shame and fear turn our loneliness into a cycle, triggering self-doubt, which in turn lowers self-esteem and discourages us from reaching out for help. Over time, this vicious cycle convinces us that we don't matter to anyone and that we are unworthy of love, driving us away from the very relationships we need the most. then the risk of self-destructive behaviors increases. Many people fall victim to drugs, alcohol, food, and sex, all to numb the emotional pain of loneliness. Back in the early 2000s, there was a researcher who firmly believed there's a critical link between social relationships and our health. Her belief was met with skepticism from many people, but she wanted to prove them wrong and change their minds. So, together with her team, they spent more than a year analyzing 148 studies with over 300,000 participants, all to answer a simple question: do social relationships reduce our risk of dying early? Finally, in the summer of 2009, she had her answer. As the long-awaited analysis was pulled up on her computer, she stared in disbelief. Her study showed that lonely people are 50% more likely to die prematurely than people with strong social relationships. She also found that loneliness is equal to the risk of smoking 15 cigarettes every day and is twice as deadly as obesity, excess alcohol consumption, and a consistent lack of exercise. Meaning, she found that loneliness can be a significant danger to our health, but that's not all. Loneliness affects blood pressure and the immune system and causes an increase in stress hormones in the body. It also increases the risk of dementia and weakens cognitive capabilities over time. Loneliness also speeds up the aging process. Lonely people sleep just as much as non-lonely people, but they experience lower sleep quality and wake up often. In another experiment, students were given personality tests, and afterward, one group was informed that they would have good relationships with friends and family in their lives, while the other group was told that they were doomed to loneliness. What effect did hearing that they had been socially excluded have on these students? The results were that they became more aggressive, not just towards the people who had hurt them, but also towards others who were innocent. They made more destructive decisions, they performed poorly on tests of rational ability, and they gave up demanding tasks more quickly. Lonely people are more likely to have a fixed mindset, meaning they prefer staying the way they are rather than pursuing new things. Lonely people approach the world in a more defensive manner. They can't help but interpret the slightest bit of negative response as alarming signals of social exclusion. And since they are defensive in every situation, they come across as self-centered and self-absorbed, when in reality, they are not. The first step to combat loneliness is acknowledging that you are stuck in a vicious cycle. The cycle usually happens like this. You start by only paying attention to information that supports your belief of being disliked. For example, during a chat with friends, you only focus on a moment when someone appeared to be disinterested in your story, so you ignore parts when they actually showed interest. As a result, you find yourself interpreting ambiguous social actions negatively. In these situations, you lean towards interpretations that reinforce your belief of rejection. For instance, if a friend doesn't immediately respond to your text, you might think they are upset with you, even if they are just busy. Your biased interpretation makes you remember only situations where you felt rejected, forgetting about the positive ones. The cycle progresses and leads to a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your belief that you are not liked influences your behavior, so you unintentionally push others away. This behavior then becomes additional evidence supporting your initial negative belief. So maybe by believing that your friends find you boring, you become quiet and reserved in group situations, making it less likely for others to talk to you, and that in turn reinforces your belief of not being good enough. Because of this, you start avoiding social situations because you believe you won't be accepted. Maybe, due to the fear of being judged, you consistently avoid social gatherings or decline invitations, limiting your opportunities to connect with others. The avoidance behavior reinforces your resistance to positive feedback. Even when others make the effort to connect with you, you dismiss them because you think they have some ulterior motive. Remember that loneliness can happen to anyone, regardless of age, gender, social status, and net worth. So experiencing loneliness does not mean you are broken, weird, or unlovable. Since loneliness is unique to every individual, a crucial approach is to address it by reflecting on your true inner self. Reflect on your interests, values, and goals. Ask yourself these questions. How often do I feel lonely? And are there specific situations where these feelings are more prevalent? Am I comfortable in social situations, or do I experience social anxiety? Are there specific social skills I would like to improve? How do I perceive myself, and what is my level of self-esteem? Do I struggle with self-acceptance or feelings of inadequacy? Who are the people I can rely on for support during challenging times? Do I feel comfortable reaching out to them? Do I have a habit that drives people away from me? If yes, how can I get rid of that habit? Do I take the initiative to start conversations, or do I expect others to reach out to me? Reflecting on these questions will provide valuable insight into your emotions, needs, and parts of yourself that require a bit of work. The second thing to try is to put yourself in situations where you have to interact with others. If you already have friends you barely speak with, try reaching out to them. Give them a call, send a text, and say hi. Ask how they are doing and how their day went. This can rekindle old connections and help you feel like yourself again. If you would rather make new friends, then consider developing a new hobby that requires you to meet new faces. Yoga, photography, cycling, dance or cooking classes, or attending a language class. There are countless things out there you can try. You know yourself best, so try something that you are genuinely interested in, and you most likely meet people you can connect with. The third step is the most important, and that is to maintain close connections with those people. Maintaining close connections with people requires lifelong effort, communication, and genuine interest in others. Ask yourself these questions. Do I avoid interrupting and allow them to express themselves fully? How well do I remember and recall details from our discussion? Do I keep my promises and commitments? Were there instances where I could have been more reliable? How did my actions align with my words? Was I willing to apologize when I made a mistake? Did I hold on to grudges, or was I able to forgive and move forward? How did I offer help and support to others? Did I actively listen and provide emotional support during challenging times? Do I stay in touch with important people in my life? How consistent am I in maintaining communication? As for myself, I realized I have to avoid interrupting while others are speaking, but that is just me. What about you? What aspect of yourself do you think needs improvement? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.